Shayla, hey girl, hey. Start it over. YouTube is doing that thing again. Hold on, let's end it. I got started over. It's doing that weird thing again. Oh, wait, yeah. Okay. See if I fix it. I don't know why I do that. Alright, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, beautiful people. Let me see. Let me adjust this little thing real quick. Let's go ahead and delete this now. Oh, excuse me. Bless me. Whew. Okay. Alright, beautiful people. Okay, yeah, we are live. Oh, right out the gate. I said good morning to everybody yet. Shayla. Look, Eddie got questions. He got a question. Why circumcised? Do you really you live in America? We circumcised over here in America. I guess, well, I never really tried to debate it with the doctors. I was about to say, I guess you don't really have a choice over here in America, but you actually do, because you sign paperwork if you want your child circumcised. Well, they tell you that they're going to circumcise your child, like the day or 2 days after they're born. But you have the opportunity to deny it. I never did. But I know that's not what you were asking. You was probably asking more on the spiritual side, why circumcised. I'm almost sure you were. Hold on. Let's delete this one. Delete forever. I'm just trying to delete this one that started, but it was acting weird doing that thing. Okay, so I got that done. All right, y'all. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. We live in both places now, on YouTube and Facebook. We got a question. And first thing, I barely opened my mouth, and we got a new person. Uncle Nathaniel, peaceful greetings. Levon. Hey, girl. Hey, Shayla, Trina. Hang this up. Eddie. Why are we circumcised? Well, Yahuwah commands his people to be circumcised. That's a part of the covenant. Mom, shalom, shalom, right? But we know some people don't keep to it because maybe they may not be in America. Maybe not. Circumcision is not the normal course of action when a child is born. Christy, hey girl, hey. But Yahuwah commands, that's a sign of the covenant. In your skin, it's a sign of the covenant. But we know everywhere that's not possible, right? It's not medically possible, and nobody's really going to try and cut themselves, right? So we get that. But according to scripture, Why circumcised? Is because that's a physical part of the covenant that shows that you are in covenant with Yah. We could argue about this. We really could. Auntie Shalom, Belinda Brown. We could argue this, right? But I think it's a fruitless argument, right? It's a fruitless argument because we know everybody's not, like I said, they don't have access to be properly circumcised. Although in the scriptures, they didn't go to doctors. They had just picked up a stone and whacked the skin off their meat. But, I mean, I'm sure they weren't willy-nilly with it, right? You know, it was quite painful from what we understand because they was out of commission for a few days. But according to Scripture, I'm going to quit playing. According to Scripture, why circumcise, Eddie? Because Yahuwah commanded it, right? All the male children shall be circumcised according to, you know, it's the physical representation of the sign of the covenant in the flesh of the man. Are people circumcised today that claim to be Yahuwah's people, set apart, holy unto him, but living lives like they're the sons and daughters of darkness? Absolutely. Can you be circumcised and be actually a physical part, blood-born part of the family of Yahuwah, descendants from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and still live like the sons and daughters of darkness? Absolutely. Because that's what Yahuwah's biggest gripe was with his people the entire time, right? You got this outward appearance, right? You got this outward show, but inwardly, you're filthy. I see your heart. So did it really matter that they had their foreskin cut and they were still living like the sons and daughters of darkness or the sons and daughters of hell, living like the other nations? It absolutely didn't, right? Just like Yahuwah said, you got ears on the side of your head, but you cannot hear. You have eyes, but you cannot see, right? It's the same principle. Why circumcise? Like I said, today it's kind of easy for us here in Americas or in other places where it's like standard procedure now, you know, so we just kind of look up in those aspects. But for those who aren't circumcised and they're actually living according to Yahuwah's commands, does this discount them from the blessings? Absolutely not. Because Yahuwah said that other nations will come among his people, right? And some of them would even have better names than sons and daughters. Matter of fact, we actually read that in Isaiah. We read over that. Some of them would get, meaning some of those who aren't physically circumcised, right? Some of them would get names from Yahuwah that are better than sons and daughters. Like there are some of the other people from the other nations, their reputation, not just outwardly, but inwardly and private, is more credible and more honorable towards Yah than some of his own sons and daughters, right? So those points, you know, if you just think about it a little bit, and we look at what Yahuwah says, it's really easy to come to that conclusion, to understand that. I have a question. Chrissy said, is the Sabbath from sunrise to sunset or the whole entire day? You got those arguments too, right? Let me tell you how I celebrate it. Because a full day, and we can get into we actually talked about this a lot yesterday. You can get into the technicalities of the day. And in technical terms, yes, the day is when the sun is out, where there's light, right? And everybody can walk around freely. There's no stumbling, right? Sabbath day of working, we rest, right? And at night, you can whatever, right? Some people actually observe it that way, where they just observe the daylight hours of the seventh day or the Sabbath day of the week, and they rest. And then at night, they go on doing what they want to do. To me, when I look at it, although I agree with the seventh day, the day where the light is shining, that is the Sabbath, I also understand that the night portion of that day cycle is included in the overall day, as we would term day, right? Including all the cycles, evening, day, evening, night, one complete day cycle. I celebrated the whole complete day cycle. Some people like to argue that. I don't. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato, right? I just use common sense. I believe he was talking about the entire day cycle, because if you go all the way back to the beginning, when you understand what he was talking about, the day cycle, even if we look at the day of Atonement, begin celebrating the Day of Atonement on the 10th day of the 7th month, but begin it on the evening of the 9th day. So I do the entire day, which includes all the cycles. If you want to call it a whole 24-hour period, that's how I do it. Some people do it sun up to sundown. Some people do it from sundown one day to sundown the next day. That's their understanding at this point in their lives. But my understanding at this point in my life, I rest the entire day cycle. The entire day that's considered the 7th day, because the evening of the 7th day is still considered a part of the 7th day, right? Or we can say like the 14th day of the month. The 14th day of the month has a night period that's still considered to be a part of the 14th day, right? I ain't telling y'all what to do, but based on my understanding, that's what I do. I do the entire day cycle, which encompasses the evening periods, which it should be rightfully translated dawn and dusk, evening to evening, evening, day, evening, night, day one. Evening, day, evening, night, day two. Right? You can't chop the days up. That's how I look at it. That's how I understand it. I know quite a few people that will argue that with me, but my common sense tells me, just like nature tells me, that this is a full day cycle. So I stopped kind of arguing those points almost a year ago, right? They're fruitless, because you can look and you can kind of observe some of these things, you know. But I realize also, I'm not saying y'all too, you know, y'all cool. But some people, they like to ask you questions and like set you up for the big bang of what they really want to pull you to. And I noticed that pattern with some people. I'm like, I ain't fooling with y'all today, you know. So, but yeah, hope that answers y'all question, Eddie and Christy. Two separate questions. The first one was on circumcision. We got here a little bit late, and the second one was the when do we celebrate the Sabbath, just during the daylight hours or the daylight and the night hours together. I celebrated the daylight and the night hours of that same day, complete cycle, while it's still the 7th day, or considered the 7th day. It's just the evening or the night of, like Yahuwah terms it, the night of the 9th day. But for the Sabbath, it will be the night of the 7th day, meaning it's still the 7th day. So everything that's comprised of the 7th day, we should be resting on. Okay. With that being said, beautiful people, happy Friday. It is July the 16th, 2021, day 208 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 3-year consecutive day count, day 877. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days or the feast days, Sabbath days added into the count. Why? We just talked about it. We rest on the Sabbath days, right? And the feast day Sabbath days, as Yahuwah has commanded. All right, y'all. I don't know why guys, I've been trying to minimize this screen. I've been kind of just running my mouth a little bit, but I can't get the screen minimized. Hold on. Oh, what is going on here? Okay. Today, y'all, we're reading Jeremiah 4, 5, and 6, and then we're going to pick up where we left off at yesterday, and Fossilized Customs on page 243. Let's go ahead and do the Shema, which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we start at verse 3. Remember, read the whole entire chapter so you can get the full context. And I think I did pretty good with pulling out the full context of everything. We just didn't read the entire chapter of 25 verses, right? I just kind of condensed it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Trina. Trina said, I'd say if you're not sure, just do the whole day to be on the safe side. You can't go wrong with that. Absolutely, right? And I don't think, let me keep my, these are my thoughts. I ain't gonna say this is the way y'all thinks. I was about to say that, but, well, here's what I know. Yah is not as petty as we are. Although he can be, if he chooses to be, just a proof of point to you. And I think those times are hilarious. He showed me how petty I be being sometime, right? Yes, babe.
Check on the AC people from the warehouse. They're gonna email you with the verbiage being correct. So take a call and shoot
Okay. Okay, babe. All right. Love you too. All right, y'all. Yeah, so he can be if he chooses to be, but when he does that, it's kind of like a teaching lesson, especially in my personal experience, right, of pettiness. But a lot of things that we argue about, you know, Yahuwah's like that. Both of y'all arguing about something that really don't matter for real, right? As long as y'all recognize that I'm the only God, right? And these are the rules of my house. As long as y'all act like y'all got some sense when y'all in my house, do you? Not really do you, because people just take that overboard. But we can have conversations and kind of hash out stuff. But a lot of people haven't really learned how to like actually just have a conversation without getting heated and feeling attacked while we're trying to work out the differences amongst one another, right? Or why you believe a certain way. We see even those arguments happening through the scripture, right? There was always something that somebody didn't agree with, right? You see a lot of that in the New Testament as well. The arguments between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, right? Let somebody say the wrong thing that the other side didn't agree with, they fighting for days, right? None of them can get it together, right? It's like you're arguing about something that doesn't matter for real, right? This is not like a life or death issue. This is just like your point of view from your experience of what you believe. Yeah, babe. Are you calling me? Or is he talking to Bella? Okay. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah.
You have my wallet? Did you take my wallet from your back on next week?
Oh. Armrest in the truck. I forgot about it. I'm sorry.
Ooh,
Yeah, they got wet yesterday. Day before yesterday. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the Elohim of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. Okay, pulling up Jeremiah. All right, y'all. Here we go. That's weird. Hold on, I'm trying to. It's always something. Okay. Sheesh. All right. It's switching my kids up. See, they come in here messing, doing stuff, knowing how to work this more than I do. And they changed the orientation of my screen, and now I can't bring both my screens up because Josh, he ain't doing that wrong. He just knows a little bit more than me about my computer. And I don't know what he did. Okay. All right. Jeremiah chapter 4. O Israel, says Yahuwah, if you wanted to return to me, you could. You could throw away your detestable idols and stray away no more. Then, when you swear by my name, saying, as surely as Yahuwah lives, you could do so with truth, justice, and righteousness. Then you would be a blessing to the nations of the world, and all people would come and praise my name. This is what Yahuwah says to the people of Judah and Jerusalem. Plow up the hard ground of your hearts. Do not waste your good seed among thorns. O people of Judah and Jerusalem, surrender your pride and power. Change your hearts before Yahuwah, or my anger will burn like an unquenchable fire because of all your sins. Shout to Judah and broadcast to Jerusalem. Tell them to sound the alarm throughout the land. Run for your lives. Flee to the fortified cities. Raise a signal flag as a warning for Jerusalem. Flee now, do not delay. For I am bringing terrible destruction upon you from the north. A lion stalks from its den, a destroyer of nations. It has left its lair and is headed your way. It's going to devastate your land. Your towns will lie in ruins with no one living in them anymore. So put on clothes of mourning and weep with broken hearts, for the fierce anger of Yahuwah is still upon us. In that day, says Yahuwah, the king and the officials will tremble in fear. The priests will be struck with horror, and the prophets will be appalled. Then I said, O sovereign Lord, the people have been deceived by what you have said, for you promised peace for Jerusalem, but the sword is held at their throats. The time is coming when Yahuwah will say to the people of Jerusalem, my dear people, a burning wind is blowing in from the desert, and it's not a gentle breeze used for renewing grain. It is a roaring blast sent by me. Now I will pronounce your destruction. Our enemy rushes down on us like storm clouds. His chariots are like whirlwinds. His horses are swifter than eagles. How terrible it will be, for we are doomed. O Jerusalem, cleanse your heart that you might be saved. How long will you harbor your evil thoughts? Your destruction has been announced from Dan and the hill country of Ephraim. Warn the surrounding nations and announce this to Jerusalem. The enemy is coming from a distant land, raising a battle cry against the towns of Judah. They surround Jerusalem like watchmen around a field. For my people have rebelled against me, says Yahuwah. Your own actions have brought this upon you. This punishment is bitter, piercing you to the heart. So, Eddie, even we can see right here, clearly we know that these people during this time were circumcised too, because there was a sign of the covenant. They did it, and if we read in previous chapters, we know that that's done. It's just a standard operating measure for Yahuwah's people. But Yahuwah himself, he said, because y'all living a life where it would seem to the unsuspecting eye that you're actually keeping the commands. I see what you're doing in the dark places, behind the closed doors. And it's because of these things, even though you bear the mark of our covenant of circumcision in your flesh, I'm still sending destruction upon you, because your lives really don't represent me in private like you display in public, right? So the circumcision means nothing to me at this point, right? And he said you could, at the very beginning of our reading today, he said you could change your hearts if you wanted to, but you chose not to. And all this destruction I'm bringing, but you brought it upon yourself because you refused to do what was right in your heart, right? You putting on a show for people, but behind closed doors, I see what's really going on. And that, what nobody else can see, I can see. And you're never going to be able to hide that from me. And I'm coming for you, right? Jeremiah weeps for his people. My heart, I writhe in pain. My heart pounds within me. I cannot be still. For I have heard the blast of enemy trumpets and the roar of their battle cries. Waves of destruction roll over the land until it lies in complete desolation. Suddenly, my tents are destroyed. In a moment, my shelters are crushed. How long must I see the battle flags and hear the trumpets of war? My people are foolish and do not know me, says Yahuwah. They are stupid children who have no understanding. They are clever enough at doing wrong, but they have no idea how to do right. Jeremiah's vision of the coming disaster. I looked at the earth, and it was empty and formless. I looked at the heavens, and there was no light. I looked at the mountains and hills, and they trembled and shook. I looked, and all the people were gone. All the birds of the sky had flown away. I looked, and the fertile fields had become a wilderness. The towns lay in ruins, crushed by Yahuwah's fierce anger. This is what Yahuwah says. The whole land will be ruined, but I will not destroy it completely. The earth will mourn, and the heavens will be draped in black. Because of my decree against my people, I have made up my mind, and I will not change it. At the noise of charioteers and archers, the people flee in terror. They hide in bushes and run for the mountains. All the towns have been abandoned. Not a person remains. What are you doing, you who have been plundered? Why do you dress up in beautiful clothing and put on gold jewelry? Why do you brighten your eyes with mascara? Your primping will do you no good. The allies who were your lovers despise you and seek to kill you. I hear a cry like that of a woman in labor, the groans of a woman giving birth to her first child. It is beautiful Jerusalem, grasping for breath and crying out, "Help, I'm being murdered." Jeremiah chapter 5, the sins of Judah. Run up and down every street in Jerusalem, says Yahuwah. Look high and low. Search throughout the city. If you can find even just one honest person, I will not destroy the city. That sounds familiar, right? He was talking to Abraham. Wait, let me can I interject something, y'all? What if you can only find 50 righteous people? Will you still destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? For the sake of the 50 righteous, I will not destroy that place. And we know he talked them all the way down to 10. He said, forgive me, I know I'm talking too much, but what if you can only find 10 righteous people? He said, even for the sake of 10, I will not destroy that place. But we know it got destroyed. So, through deductive reasoning and critical thinking, that would tell us that there were not even 10 people who Yahuwah considered righteous, because Sodom and Gomorrah was completely annihilated in the surrounding cities, with the exception of the small town that Lot and his 2 daughters escaped to. Now, when Lot was coming out, it was just more than him and his 2 daughters. His wife, well, it was his wife too, but that wasn't just them. They didn't just have 2 children. They had multiple children, and a couple of their daughters were actually married, because it said that he talked to the sons. We read it in the Legends of the Jews, the story with more of the pieces that were not canonized in there. He even went to his sons-in-laws, right? They didn't believe him. They thought Lot was crazy, right? Only 3 people made it out there alive. And the wife was en route, right? She was en route, but she still got swept away in the destruction, right? Look high and low. Search throughout the city. If you can find even one just and honest person, I would not destroy the city. But even when they are under the oath, saying, as surely as Yahuwah lives, they are still telling lies, right? Hand on the Bible and everything. Y'all like they lying. They lying. The Bible gonna catch fire. But here's the deception of it, right? Because the Bible doesn't physically catch on fire, We believe the lies of the ones who have their flame-burning hand setting on it. Now, if that Bible would have caught fire, we would see how many people would dare to, on God, right? Y'all, you are searching for honesty. You struck your people, but they paid no attention. You crushed them, but they refused to be corrected. They are determined, with faces set like stone. They have refused to repent. Then I said, what can we expect from the poor? They are ignorant. They don't know the ways of Yah. They don't understand Yahuwah's laws. So I will go and speak to their leaders. Surely they know the ways of Yah and understand Yahuwah's laws. But the leaders, too, as one man, had thrown off Yahuwah's yoke and broken his chains. So now a lion from the forest will attack them. A wolf from the desert will pounce on them. A leopard will lurk near their windows, tearing apart any who dare to venture out. For their rebellion is great and their sins are many. How can I pardon you? For even your children have turned from me. They have sworn by gods that are no gods at all. I have fed my people until they were full, but they thanked me by committing adultery and lining up at the brothels. They are well-fed, lusty stallions, each neighing for his neighbor's wife. Should I not punish them for this, says Yahuwah? Should I not avenge myself against such a nation? Go down the rows of the vineyards and destroy the grapevines, leaving a scattered few alive. Strip the branches from the vines, for these people do not belong to Yahuwah. And he was talking to his own circumcised people, Eddie. Go down the road. Remember, when Yahuwah talks about vineyards and grapevines, he's referring to the virgin daughter, Israel, the daughter of Zion. All 12 tribes, all his people, right? He's talking about his people, the bloodborn and those who claim, those who come from other nations to be a part of the family. Because when you're adopted into the family, we don't call you the adopted. We call you a son and daughter. We call you a brother and sister. Your family, you're Israel, right? You get your tail tore off just like everybody else. You cross the line. Now go down the rows of the vineyards and destroy the grapevines, leaving a scattered few alive. Strip the branches from the vines, for these people do not belong to Yahuwah. The people of Israel and Judah are full of treachery against me, says Yahuwah. They have lied about Yahuwah and said he won't bother us. No disasters will come upon us. There will be no war or famine. Yahuwah's prophets are all windbags who don't really speak for him. Let their predictions of disaster fall on themselves. Therefore, this is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's army, says. Because the people are talking like this, my messages will flame out of your mouth and burn the people like kindling wood. O Israel, I will bring a distant nation against you, says Yahuwah. It's a mighty nation, an ancient nation, a people whose language you do not know, whose speech you cannot understand. Clearly, we know that's the truth. How these black folks get scattered all over here, right? All over the world, right? If you look at different things, different people are indigenous to different parts of the earth, right? I could get into something else, but I might lose some people. But it's common sense if you just look at nature. If you just look at nature. People might say I'm off on heresy, so I ain't even going to say nothing. I'm just like, we should probably address this. Not too many people willing to address this because it's going to kill this one particular theory that's being pushed all over the world. Not everybody's pushing it. And science will tell you different, right? Science will tell you different. Not that science is God, but things that can be proven will be proven. And some of this is not adding up. I don't care how good the theory sounds. Bone structures, physical bone structures that we can see from different races of people tells a different story. I'm going to leave that at that, because if I start talking about it, we're going to have to talk about it. O Israel, I will bring a distant nation against you, says Yahuwah. It's a mighty nation, an ancient nation, a people whose language you do not know, whose speech you cannot understand. Their weapons are deadly, their warriors are mighty. They will devour the food of your harvest. They will devour your sons and daughters. They will devour your flocks and herds. They will devour your grapes and figs, and they will destroy your fortified towns, which you think are so safe. Yet even in those days, I will not blot you out completely, says Yahuwah. And when your people ask, why did Yahuwah our God do all of this to us? You must reply, you rejected him and gave yourself to foreign gods in your own land. Now you will serve foreigners in the land that is not your own. A warning for Yahuwah's people. Make this announcement to Israel and say this to Judah. Listen, you foolish and senseless people, with eyes that do not see and ears that do not hear. You have no respect for me, or have you no respect for me? Why don't you tremble in my presence? I, Yahuwah, define the ocean's sandy shoreline, an everlasting boundary that the waters cannot cross. The waves may toss and roar, but they can never pass the boundaries that I set. Can we prove that? We absolutely can. Think about it. Every time we go to the beach, no matter how they get roaring, they ain't coming past a certain point because they recognize the command and the power of Yah, right? Now, there are times where water will kick up, but only for a short period of time. Then it has to recede and obey and go back to its boundaries. Have you no respect for me? Why don't you tremble at my presence? I, Yahuwah, define the ocean's sandy shorelines as an everlasting boundary that the waters cannot cross. The waves may toss and roar, but they can never pass the boundaries I set. But my people have stubborn and rebellious hearts. They have turned away and abandoned me. They do not say from the heart, let us live in awe of Yahuwah our God, for he gives us rain each spring and fall, assuring us of a harvest when the time is right. Your wickedness has deprived you of these wonderful blessings. Your sin has robbed you of all these good things. Among my people are wicked men who lie in wait for victims like a hunter hiding in a blind. They continually set traps to catch people. Like a cage filled with birds, their homes are filled with evil plots, and now they are great and rich. They are fat and sleek, and there is no limit to their wicked deeds. They refuse to provide justice to the orphans and deny the rights of the poor. Should I not punish them for this? Should I not punish them for this? Says Yahuwah. Should I not avenge myself against such a nation? A horrible and shocking thing has happened in this land. The prophets give false prophecies, and the priests rule with an iron hand. Worse yet, my people like it that way. But what will you do when the end comes? Last chapter for today, Jeremiah chapter 6, Jerusalem's last warning. Run for your lives, you people of Benjamin. Get out of Jerusalem. Sound the alarm in Tekoa. Send up a signal at Beth Hakerem. A powerful army is coming from the north, coming with disaster and destruction. Right, look, Yahuwah was constantly telling them, look, Yahuwah never does anything. This is what Yahuwah says. He said he never does anything without warning his prophets first, right? Why he warned the prophets? Matter of fact, remember, prophets only come on the scene if you screwing up and you're not following directions, right? So when the prophets show up, you know that that's your last warning, Dana, right? We like it like that. Hashtag the church. Yes, better yet. I like the version where it said, my people love it to be so. I like the version that says it that way, right? This says, but my people like it like that. They like it dirty, nasty, and filthy, right? They love it to be so, right? Look, But during all of this, Yahuwah was telling the ones, those who got ears and who can hear, those who have eyes that can see, I done had it up to here. If y'all want to keep y'all lives, y'all better get out of here right now. Because I'm telling you that a nation is coming. And see, they grew comfortable because of the lapse of time that they had to pull themselves together before the nation from the north actually got to them. See, at first they were scared. Oh, wait, they straightened up real quick, but then they realized, they're talking about this nation. They've been talking about this nation from the north coming for, get out of here. Keep your prophecies to yourself. And you who was telling them, listen, y'all that got sense, go ahead and get up out of here, because I'm bringing destruction. I'm definitely going to destroy this place, right? I'm going to give you an opportunity to get on out of here. Flee Babylon. Go ahead, get your stuff, go. Run to the hills. Run to the hills. Get to the mountains. Get as far away from here as possible. Run for your lives, you people of Benjamin. Get out of here. The invading army is coming, right? Let them hear. We hear loud and clear. We got to get out of Dodge. Dana, say it again, sis. Run for your lives, you people of Benjamin. Get out of Jerusalem. Sound the alarm at Tekoa. Set up a signal at Beth Hakerem. A powerful army is coming from the north, coming with disaster and destruction. O Jerusalem, you are my beautiful and delicate daughter, but I will destroy you. I brought you in this world, Mom, and I'll take you out. Mom. We got that from y'all. Yes.
Look at Lily. Look right there.
I see.
Right there.
I know.
Her didn't grow.
Yeah, I know. You got your nephew to thank for that. Yeah, little Jackson, grabby hands, messing with my plants. Back to this. A powerful army is coming from the north, coming with disaster and destruction. O Jerusalem, you are my beautiful and delicate daughter, but I will destroy you. Enemies will surround you like shepherds camped around the city. Each chooses a place for his troops to devour. They shout, prepare for battle, attack at noon. No, it's too late. The day is fading and the evening shadows are falling. Well then, let's attack at night and destroy her palaces. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's army, says. Cut down the trees for battering rams. Build siege ramps against the walls of Jerusalem. This is the city to be punished, for she is wicked through and through. She spouts evil like a fountain. Her streets echo with the sounds of violence and destruction. I always see her sickness and sores. Listen to this warning, Jerusalem, or I will Listen to this warning, Jerusalem, or I will turn from you in disgust. Listen, or I will turn you into a heap of ruins, a land where no one lives. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's army, says. Even the few who remain in Israel will be picked over again, as when a harvester checks each vine a second time to pick the grapes that were missed. Oh, we forgot to get them. They good. They good for slavery too. Go make a second run. Get all of them. Judah's constant rebellion. To whom can I give warning? Who will listen when I speak? Their ears are closed and they cannot hear. They scorn the word of Yahuwah. They don't want to listen at all. So now I am filled with Yahuwah's fury. Yes, I am tired of holding it in. I will pour out my fury on children playing in the streets, and on gatherings of young men, on husbands and wives, on those who are old and gray. Their homes will be turned over to their enemies, as will their fields and their wives. For I will raise my powerful fist against the people of this land, says Yahuwah. From the least to the greatest, their lives are ruled by greed. From prophets to priests, they are all frauds. They offer superficial treatments for my people's mortal wound. They give assurances of peace when there is no peace. Are they ashamed of their disgusting actions? Not at all. Not at all. They don't even know how to blush. Therefore, they will lie among the slaughtered. They will be brought down when I punish them, says Yahuwah. Judah rejects Yahuwah's way. This is what Yahuwah says. Stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old and godly way and walk in it. Travel its path and you will find rest for your souls. But you reply, no,
Mom.
that's not the road we want.
Mom.
Yes.
Are we ready to get in and let him?
Okay, so first of all, what you about to do? You about to drink out of my bottle, sis?
No, no,
Okay. Oh, you pouring it in that cup for you.
no. For her.
No, Barbie gets none of my water. Put my top back on it. See, I was going to share with you, but I'm not sharing with your dog.
Mom, hurry, get in.
No.
Hurry, turn her shirt.
No. Do not make that a swimming pool for Barbie. This is what Yahuwah says. Stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old godly way and walk in it. Travel its path and you will find rest for your souls. But you reply, no, that's not the road we want. I posted watchmen over you who said, listen for the sound of the alarm. But you replied, no, we won't pay attention. Therefore, listen to this, all you nations. Take note of my people's situation. Listen, all the earth. I will bring disaster on my people. It is the fruit of their own schemes because they refuse to listen to me. They have rejected my word. There is no use offering me sweet frankincense from Sheba. Keep your fragrant calamus imported from the distant lands. I will not accept your burnt offerings. Your sacrifices have no pleasing aroma for me. Therefore, this is what Yahuwah says. I will put obstacles in my people's path. Fathers and sons will both fall over them. Neighbors and friends will die together. An invasion from the north. This is what Yahuwah says. Look, a great army is coming from the north. A great nation is rising against you from far off lands. They are armed with bows and spears. They are cruel and show no mercy. Oh, don't we know that to be the truth even still to today, right? They are armed with bows and spears. They are cruel and show no mercy. They sound like a roaring sea as they ride forward on horses. They are coming in battle formation, planning to destroy you, beautiful Jerusalem. We have heard reports about the enemy, and we wring our hands in fright. Pains of anguish have gripped us like those of a woman in labor. Don't go out into the fields. Don't travel on the roads. The enemy's sword is everywhere and terrorizes us at every turn. O my people, dress yourselves in burlap and sit among the ashes. Mourn and weep bitterly as for the loss of an only son, for suddenly the destroying armies will be upon you. Jeremiah, I have made you a tester of metals, that you may determine the quality of my people. They are the worst kind of rebel, full of slander. They are as hard as bronze and iron, and they lead others into corruption. The bellows fiercely fan the flames and burn out the corruption, but it does not purify them, for the wickedness remains. I will label them rejected silver, for I, Yahuwah, am discarding them. And that is our reading for the day.
Mom.
Yeah, Dana. Yes, Bella.
Barbie.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, I agree with that. Dana said, see, JC got us believing y'all would never destroy us for rebellion. Hashtag great deception. Yeah, we will clearly see that all through the book of Jeremiah, right? Because Yahuwah, he done had it up to here with them, right? With all of them. I also notice the pattern, how the righteous is always saved, right? Even amongst the wicked generation, amongst all the wicked generations, right? Those who are truly righteous are saved. Okay, Bella, chill out. All right, so let's go ahead over to Fossilized Customs and pick up where we left off at yesterday on page 243. Did I stop? Hold on. Yeah, I just said market. Okay.
Mom,
Yes.
look. Painting this on her book.
Okay.
Look.
Don't fill it up with water. Okay. She can play in water when you take a bath. You put her in a bathtub with you. Okay, let's see. So we were talking about the Sabbaths and new moons, and if they had any type of relationship. Yes.
I can pour it in.
You can put her in the tub in the water, but you can't put the glass in the tub. Tootie. Okay. So let's go back and reread this last little small paragraph that we left off reading yesterday. Okay, so it's actually it's like the third paragraph on the page of 243 if you have the book. When a statement is made in scripture which involves a list of several things, some are teaching the items not only connect the words together in the sentence, but that the A-N-D, unites them or marries them in likeness and oneness. This is a faulty interpretation. The sun and the moon are used with an and between them, but these two are not the same things. Okay, Pootie, chill out. Good and evil, Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve. These are distinctions between things and people. The and in no way makes them the same or equivalent. Sarah, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, were not the same entities, but completely distinct individuals in their persons. David and Goliath both were people, but very different people. In the same way, new moons and Sabbaths are distinct. If we are told the first day of the seventh moon or the seventh month is a Sabbath, this means by deductive reasoning that the other 11 moons are not Sabbaths. And we talked about this yesterday. When there's a distinction, Yahuwah specifically calls it out, but it's being taught that those things that he's calling out makes it common or makes everything else fall in line with this, right? He called out the first day of the seventh month, calling it, this is the example he used. Just because he called out the seventh month, the first day of the seventh month to be a Sabbath, doesn't mean that the other months of the year, the first day of those months are Sabbaths, because they are not. If you notice the pattern, Yahuwah does that. If there's something out of the ordinary, he will bring it out. But just because he brought that out doesn't make everything else that's like this the same, right? Okay, all right. And they've kind of taken that with an example with the Day of Atonement. It begins at evening, but it begins at evening on the night. They leave out, they pull out what they want to. It's like that Jedi mind trick. They get your attention diverted to look at this. Oh yes, it does say this. It does say that. But they always leave off the other half of the scripture and the surrounding context to where you see that this is this. Yeah, it begins at evening, but it begins on the evening of the previous day. So do we celebrate the Sabbaths that way? No, we don't. But they've just taken that one part beginning at evening and applied it to all the Sabbaths, when that is not what Yahuwah said. It's not what he said, right? So you have to pay attention, right? It's the sleight of hand, the Jedi mind trick. Divert their attention over here while they're moving this over here. Oh, yes. And you go back, yeah, it does say that, right? But they've taught you now to only look at that and not everything else around it, which is a part of that. They always cut half of it off. And when you cut half of it off, you will see exactly what's being talked about, and you will see Yahuwah's definition and interpretation of something is completely different from the modern day teachers and even some of the earlier teachers in time, because they on purpose twist Yahuwah's words, right? They're purposely deceiving people. And some of them, not even purposely, they were just brought up in it, and they're just kind of regurgitating the garbage pedal from the pulpit to the pews, right? I'm just saying. But then we look like the bad guys and the heretics and the cultists when we point it out, right? Like, we're supposed to be like, we see y'all about to fall off a cliff. Yo, you about to fall off a cliff. Like, they get mad at us because we telling people they about to fall off the cliff because we was walking smoothly, the ranks was going fine, but now you disrupting everybody. You done messed up the ranks. Yes, because y'all, I don't care how pretty your ranks is, a marching line looking also, y'all about to die. Like, it doesn't matter that you look beautiful. You're about to, you want to look pretty and die, or me to disrupt your beautiful flow so you can open your eyes and live. If we are told the first day of the seventh moon is a Sabbath, this means by deductive reasoning that the other 11 new moons are not Sabbaths unless they happen to coincide with the weekly pattern established during creation week. Why do I hear all of that? What are you doing, sis?
Barbie, I don't know.
I'm asking you, what do you know? I'm not talking to Barbie. Why are you filling up all of these cups with water?
I love it.
She's not going to drink all of that water. Matter of fact, I'm going to go as far to say she's not going to drink a single drop of none of these cups of water. Don't pour another one. This is your water for all today. And you can drink every drop. You hear me? So you might as well find the tops and sit them in the refrigerator. And every time you get thirsty, you better go get one of these 4 cups.
Not for her dad.
To reason from a general principle using logic, we can arrive at what is factual truth by deduction. Deduction literally means that we arrive at our conclusion by deducting, subtracting what is known to not apply. And this principle is how we arrive at a conclusion by reasoning. I won't let Barbie be great. Her and Barbie about to be kicked out of here, Dana. My enemy's enemy is my friend. This statement contains deductive reasoning. Whosoever is not against us is for us. This is also an example of deductive reasoning. Sabbath are days of rest from work. We would all agree. No one is in rebellion on that issue except those who deny they apply to us, or those who have changed the law. Sabbath is in fact the only day of the week which has its own name. Shush. Sabbath means cease or stop, and at the same time, it also means seventh, as we see in several Hebrew words which derive from the root, such as Shabuot, which means weeks. The Hebrew word for 7 is Sheba. That's Strong's number 7651 if you want to go look it up. I want to let the word of Yahuwah speak to us mostly on this, so I want to let you read the following text slowly and go ahead and strain to make the new moon seem to tell us when a Sabbath is, or relate to us how it rules the week in any way. And Yahuwah said, let lights come to be in the expanse of the heaven to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times and for days and years. That's found in Genesis chapter 1 verses 14. Is there any indication that the moon resets the week each month? We all know that signs and appointed times are signals and moedim. Moedim means appointments or set apart times, right? We all know that signs and appointed times are signals and moedim, and we count the days of the moon which establish these moedim. But when we take a leap into applying it also affecting the weekly pattern, suddenly the weeks are sliding around the earth with the moon, and the bad math at the end of each month doesn't seem to indicate there's a problem. Now, how he is explaining this is correct, but I'm just going to say this was written a few years ago, so I'm going to say at the point in time when he wrote this, his understanding was not full and complete, because technically the words that he is saying is correct, right? You cannot do this based on the moon alone, right? Which is where Muslims kind of get it off a little bit, right? Because they use only the moon. Yahuwah said you have to use them all. The sun, the moon, and the stars, right? And if you do that, if you understand that, if you understand a little bit about the clock in the sky, and I know, listen, let me say something. Let me just kind of preface what I'm about to say. And I need you to go check into what I'm saying before y'all start trying to come for me. Listen. There's no, let me finish my thought before y'all start tossing stuff out here. There is no, and I'll say this because how they've paired this with different things, it makes you automatically think witchcraft. But they've taken something good and taken something that is true and that is a fact, and they've paired it with something that is bad, that is actually witchcraft. So people count it all as witchcraft. But you have to be able to discern truth from error. You have to separate the wheat from the tares. You have to remove the leaven from the truth, right? Just like we were doing when we read through the book, you got to do the same thing with scripture. Now that I've said that, there is no better way to begin understanding. Well, at least until this point, unless, well, I can't even say that because they got that from this. Okay. Make sure I word this right. Let me just say it. There is no better way to understand the clock in the sky with how the sun, the moon, and the stars operate than looking at astronomy and astrology. Listen, the definition of astronomy is simply the constellations in the sky, the sun, moon, and the stars, all their different names, the locations, and everything, right? Astrology is the study of the sun and the moon and the stars and how they move and how they operate. They've now paired this with other things, and yes.
Me and Barbie ready to relax.
Okay, y'all ready to relax? Mm-hmm. And they've added things like horoscopes and stuff. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And they added things like horoscopes, and they've paired it with the actual study. Like I said, just before you argue with me, go look into it, go study. I'm not telling you look into the horoscope portion of it. I'm not telling you to look into that portion. I'm strictly telling you what you can go outside and you can clearly observe, right? Because we cannot negate the fact that there's a sun, there's a moon, and there are stars, and they can be seen from all over the earth. There are some, there are two that move around, the sun and the moon, and there are others that are fixed in the firmament. They are the stars, right? They are the stars. At different times of the year, some are more prominent than others. Some seem, well, I'm not going to, that might be the wrong way to explain that. The stars are fixed. They don't move, right? But at some times throughout the year and in some months, right, some can be seen more clearly than others, right? And even like the North Star, it doesn't move. It's just, it seems to be brighter at certain times of the year where they make this big deal about it. Now, all of this stuff we read about in the book of Enoch, right? The book of Enoch has been around for a while. It's not necessarily been a book. It's just been Enoch's study. It's been since forever, right? But modern day teachings, especially in the church, we don't quite understand these things. So when you hear somebody that reads the Bible like me and not even go to say the word astronomy or astrology, unsubscribe. I knew it. She didn't get off. I'm like, guys, come on. That's the purpose of this whole channel. I'm trying to break your state, and I purposely say words to get your attention because you might have been zoned out on me, right? And y'all think I'm talking too much or whatever, but I can say I'll say words that'll pull them back. Wait, what's she gonna say? Hold on. Shh. Because this is gonna be my proving point right here to prove that she off. I'm waiting to do a video on her and catch her up in her words, right? Guys, you gotta be smarter than that, right? That's why I tell you, go outside and pay attention. Everything that is true that Yahuwah wants to say to you and that he is trying to convey with you can be proven in nature and in our bodies, right? I'm going to keep saying this because as we get further along, I'm going to start showing you some things, right? I'm just using wisdom on how to do this. Make sure I got all my references and things that you can personally go test. I want you to test it any which way, inside and out, up and down, round about, you know? So pay attention. Because a lot of the things that we've been taught to stay away from in the church, now there are some things you should actually stay away from. Seriously. Seriously. You really should. But there are some things that are truth that have been paired with some of the things that you should really stay away from. But you have to just step back and just be a good student, right? The earth is a lab. Be a good student. Get all your information together and go through. Use your critical thinking skills, right? Based on all the information, this, and this. Okay, this. Okay. And just go through and use solid information and look at the whole matter, right? Look at the whole matter. You can get information from other people. They may have missing parts, but you have to qualify your information. Get good quality information from credible people and put all the pieces together. And then go test it, right? Yahuwah wants us to do that. You have to go do that. Otherwise, your life is going to be a lot less than what it really should be, right? There are some things that I'm testing, even like with the fasting and everything. I'm telling y'all, this is something you can test in your own bodies, right? But we know it ain't easy a lot of time for some people, and some people just ain't gonna go do it. I'm just gonna do this and this it because that's doing too much, and that's okay for you, right? But you will only go so far, especially if you call yourself a spiritual person. You're only gonna go so far, right? You have to test these things. So, based on what he said here, technically, the words that he used are correct words. But I think even here, when he talks about faulty understanding, I think what he's trying to convey, his premise is faulty because he's not using everything, right? And true, you can't count the weeks and the days by just the moon, but you can definitely count the months. And by counting the months, if you pay attention to the sun and to the stars and the position, like literally, I know it kind of seems like what when you first start looking at it, but once you get it and it clicks and you actually go out there and observe it, okay, yeah. High noon, this, you begin to see the shadows. And if you use marker points around your house, just watch the rotation of the sun and how the shadows fall and where the sun shines. Like literally every hour, things that I was doing just to kind of prove points, you really can pinpoint days of the week, right? Because if we know, even if we only knew that the full moon was the 15th day of the month, that gives us enough information to kind of backtrack and number the previous days, right? And to go forward and number the days. Now, you may get to like day 28 or day 29. We're like, okay, well, wait a minute. Okay, so we know there's some short months and there's some long months. Well, that's where the sun and the stars come in, right? But you won't know that if you don't go look. You're just taking people's word for stuff, and it sounds good. It sounds good on the surface. It really does, until you begin to go observe it yourself. But it was like, no, you're wrong, because you actually can begin to number the days. I don't care what this said in here. Men wrote this and they're faulty. Nature will not lie. Nature is more consistent than we have ever been, right? It's been consistent before man was created, right? And we can trust that. Yahuwah created nature, and nature obeys. It just does its thing like clockwork. Human beings are the only ones that are constantly overstepping their bounds and being slaughtered every which way, right? Because we don't keep to like the natural order and laws of things, right? So I'm just saying, technically what he says, but when we take a leap into applying it, let me go back up. Is there any indication that the moon resets the week each month? We all know that signs and appointed times are signals and moedim, and we count the days of the moons which establish these moedim. But when we take a leap into applying it, also affecting the weekly pattern, suddenly the weeks are sliding around the earth with the moon, and the bad math at the end of each month doesn't seem to indicate there's a problem. Can we find some text from scripture that explains this bizarre anomaly? This is not asking too much, and I don't think it's asking too much. Your understanding is just incomplete, right? You're missing the sun and the stars, which is a part of this whole sky time clock. Here's what's crazy. Everybody that wears a watch and has a clock in their house, or that can read analog or digital, what they have done They have perfected the time clock, the makers of watches and those that created time where you can walk around with the sky clock on your wrist, right on your wrist or on your laptop, in your phone. Every time you look at this, you can look at this. You can even put it on some of the, I know that's upside down. You can even take this and put it on the different time, the like analog and digital and different. You can even use the compasses and the different things. You can change the faces to look like this. The people who have made the watches or invented the watch that we can carry around simply gave us a portable sky. They literally have. They understand astrology or astronomy, the sun, moon, and stars, and the study of it, which is astrology. They've perfected that. They understand that, and they tell you to stay away from it. And they sell you the clock in the sky and have you arguing about the clock in the sky. Stay away from the clock in the sky. That's witchcraft. Put a name on it. Woohoo! Sounds scary. Stay away from it. Yet you walk around proving that you got it up here with now the sun and the moon and the stars is calculated in this miniature clock, this miniature sky that you carry around on your wrist or on your hip. Some people around their neck, on your laptop. You literally have this study that they understand and been perfected and put it in a language you can understand. Digital or analog, right? And you can prove it. You can go and look into how it's created. It lines up. And even with the satellite, guys, it is so much stuff. You think satellites were like a recent invention? No, they're just really understanding what's really here in our atmosphere and how to tap into things. So these things aren't new. Like in the we call them our ancestors or the ancient days or whatever. A lot of them, they were more advanced than what we are. We think it's a technology boom, right? But they understood astronomy and astrology, and they were very proficient with it, right? And now it's just like, oh yeah, they were dumb. Like they ain't had none of this stuff. No, but we're dumb because we don't know how none of this worked, and we pretty much got the cliff notes of everything where they could do it without computers, right? They did it. The computer is based off of this inside of our head that every single human being has, and we've been dumbed down by giving like pacifiers and stuff because it's convenient and it doesn't require any work from us. Oh, just give me a watch. I don't need to study that. It's 8:29. Shoot, anybody got time for that? Just give me a watch, right? And so that's how they lord over the masses, right? Because we're lazy. They've taught us to be lazy. We've taken the bait, right? And we've eaten it. We've drunk the Kool-Aid. So now information that has been known knowledge throughout different millennia of time has been known to other generations, and they knew we completely don't understand. Not everybody, it's the few who do. And those who do that come out that begin to explain some of these things, they can literally just market their person like they're a guru and like they've got this major download from heaven and look like almost wise. And no, it's just you've been dumbed down. This same, and nobody's talking about it. So, people that want to learn about it, somebody has taken the time, and figured out how all this works. And it's not really hard. It just takes some time and dedication, a little bit of study, some deep study in some places, and you would get it. And you're like, oh, that's how this works. And when you understand something, you become less afraid of stuff. Like people that don't understand stuff, they become deathly afraid of because it's unknown. The fear of the unknown, right? But people perish for not knowing stuff. People die for a lack of knowledge, right? And they take knowledge and they lord it and they give you just this little piece. And we've been okay with the pacifier, with the little small trinkets and stuff. Yeah, just give me a watch. I don't need to spend all that time learning about that, right? And so they can take and lord this information over you and just tell you any old thing. And we just run with it, right? And we're steady looking at people with the knowledge for a hit before we can move on. Or we got to stay in this little circle because this is what they said we need to do. Right, guys? I'm telling you, that is so beneath what every human being is capable of. Right? Everything that's manifested, even these y'all. Even the clock in the sky, can be proven like look. Okay, so here's another little thing that might trigger some of you. As above, so below. People are, oh, there you go with that new age talk. No, bro, you got a Bible? I can show you exactly where it says that at. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. As above, so below. Let thy will as it is done in heaven, let it be so here on the earth. Same thing. They just change it a little bit and give you the spooky words, boom, boom, boom. New age, stay away from that. No, they're talking about the same thing, using different words, right? Just like there's a clock in the sky, there's a clock in our body that mimics perfectly the clock in the sky, whereby the clock in the sky can be proven. Everything that Yahuwah says can be proven on our level. Even if we don't understand the clock in the sky, if we begin to learn about our bodies and understand the clock in our bodies, and it's not just women that have time clocks, right? Men have time clocks too. And if your body is aligned appropriately and you're feeding your body life, what it was designed to have, what Yahuwah calls life, and we're not in the darkness all the time, but we're actually out in the sun, in nature, your body will align with the sky. So like every month, women, if nobody gets it, women should get it, right? Because our cycles, it might be a bloody mess here on earth, but your cycle should align with the moon, right? Even if you didn't have a watch or a clock, if you fed your body appropriately and you got out of the house getting cabin fever and you were exposed to the elements of nature, right? Because we thrive, we get energy, we will go out in the sun if you ever paid attention to it. People that get depression or are stricken with bouts of depression, they have a major vitamin D deficiency. That's why when they get out of the house, which is it's keeping them covered from the light of the sun, and they have this inorganic light hitting them, it's like they lose a part of themselves. The proper melatonin and serotonin chemicals in their body is not being released appropriately. Upon all the other stresses they're adding to their current environment, the foods that they eat, maybe the atmosphere of the house is throwing your clock out of whack, right? And you won't get it. But those who are going plant-based and are getting out more in nature and grounding themselves, because you're a plant. Plants are grounded in the dirt. You get out there and you actually do that. You ain't got to listen to people all day. Nuts. What you talking about, grounding yourself? You go with the new age talk again. No. Go test it. Like, literally, go test this. People that don't test, they argue before they test. I'm just going to look at you like, okay. I'm going to go about my business, right? Because you have something you can test and you won't even exert just a couple minutes that it would take just to go test the theory to see if what I'm saying is true, right? And most of the time when I talk to you, I try to give you something that you in your own time, wherever you at, can go test. And this is true for human beings all over the world. It don't matter if the time zones are different and it's light over here and it's night over there. When it's night over here and it's light over there, test it then. Test it when the sun is out. Test. Be like the Bereans, right? We're going to go back and test everything. We'll check behind you to see if these things were true. They were diligent. Be like the Bereans, right? So I'm just saying, technically his words are correct, but it's missing information whereby we would know that technically you can number the days of the week by the moon. If you understand that when you're using the moon, you're also using the sun and the stars as well. So you really can number the days of the month and of the year. Make sure you keep in the fact that the moon is only lit about 20 days of the month. And those other, how do we count those other dark days, those transition days throughout the entire year? Because those add up. But the book of Enoch tells us that this is exactly how men go astray, not knowing how to count these days, right? And how they coincide with the moon, and how the sun and the moon every single year bring in the year at a perfect 364 days. Even though the moon is lit like 20 days a month, but the sun is lit every day of the month and every day of the year. Even if clouds are covering it, the sun is present, right? The sun is always present. But if you don't understand it, and also the stars, right? If you don't understand that, if you don't understand the astrology of astronomy, you can be taken through multiple loops. You can be taken through multiple loops, right? So we need to stop right here today. Trina said everything that y'all taught our ancestors, they have taken it, yes, and they selling it to us. I want y'all to, y'all ever had somebody steal something out y'all house and y'all walking down the street and they trying to sell you your stuff back? That's happened to some people, right? That's exactly what they've done. They've come and take your stuff and try to sell you your stuff back. Y'all seen Coming to America? When they first get to America, all this stuff that they had bought from Africa loaded down on the cabs and stuff. Soon as they got into Queens, everybody start pillaging their stuff, right? Then here they come after they done checked into this rat motel and stuff. Here they come walking down the street. Here come this guy with one. Hey man, I got some fly stuff right here. You want to buy this? Hey, that's our stuff. Oh, he closed it up and take off running, right? They try to sell you, they steal your stuff and try to sell you your stuff back to you. Same thing, right? All this knowledge and everything that's split up between all the different nations, right, has been stolen from Yahuwah's people. And the information, I ain't gonna say necessarily, well, yeah, it's completely stolen, right? But once we realize it, we can go claim that information and regain that information and begin to use it again for ourselves, right? We can really do that, and it can be done. So, all the information that we should know as a whole has been split up between multiple nations, right? So now everybody has a piece of the bigger puzzle, which is why the nations and the races need to come together and bring their pieces of the puzzle, right? Because you can't look at the Asian community and tell them that meditation is wrong or that's of the devil. Well, doesn't Yahuwah tell us to meditate, right? Every nation is doing the same thing, but they're using different terminology. And this is where the church gets thrown for a loop, because they've been taught that everybody else is wrong. Everything else is of the devil. Only what we teach is right, when technically it's not. And you're no better than all the other nations and religions. Everybody, if you go and look at it, and I've gone through and I began to look at, well, shoot, that's the truth. Although you may be called this, and I may be called this, what you said I know is to be the truth, and it can be verified that that is the truth, right? Just like I want to say the Asian, well, yeah, for the most part, like, well, you can kind of see it everywhere, but you really see it from the Asian community. If you go research and stuff, unless I'm not doing a full research, and I'm sure I'm probably not. I'm probably missing pieces too. But at least everything that I've come across, I've seen mostly Asian people who are talking about like the astrology and astronomy. Not saying that nobody else does, because they absolutely do. And you can find it by other different nations of people who is talking about the study of the stars and the sky and how it relates to the earth, and even how it all intertwines with nature and even with our human bodies, right? But you find that predominantly in the, at least like I said, from what I said, from like the Asian community, and they have it down to a T. And you can learn a lot from them, right? You can, if you put your pride aside and your ego aside and realize, okay, well, I don't know if I quite believe you, but let me just go test what you say. And that's what I had to do coming out of church. I'm like, well, shoot, well, they saying some stuff I be reading in Enoch. Let me go ahead and take my scary ears off and just listen to what they saying. I'm still, like, I had to do this. I'm gonna still be on alert. I'm gonna listen to what they're saying. You know, I'm gonna check these resources. I'm like, because they're saying a lot of stuff that I truly believe it's an Enoch and that I've already tested. So we might, because I'm still trying to figure out this, maybe they have that missing piece. And I realize they have a lot of missing pieces, people. A lot of missing pieces that we individually can test all over the world, right? So I'm just saying, do your own testing on things before you decide to fight with people. Oh, that's of the devil, that's new age. And I'm just like, I'm so over that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll still listen. I ain't gonna argue with you, but I'm taking notes. I'm checking into this. I may not say that out loud, but I'm going to go check into it, right? And I found out a lot of times some things that I used to believe cannot be proven. It cannot be tested. And even when you test it, it is found to be faulty, right? And even if it works kinda, that means I'm missing something, or this is my experiment and my theory is incomplete. So I need to go find the missing pieces to make this complete. And a lot of times it means I have to change some of the variables that I was using in my personal experiment or my testing. I had to adjust some things in order for it to work like clockwork, like flawlessly, right? So I'm just saying we got to do that even with reading the scriptures, y'all, because everything in that book, and I'm going to say that book, right, because it was canonized not by y'all, it was canonized by man. They've taken and they've taught what they wanted the masses to have, right? Where they keep some of the bigger information and they lord it over you, and they take this information and they label it occultic. Occultic simply means hidden. What they're really saying is we've taken some of the more important things and hidden it from you. We put a boogeyman at the door and we called it occultic, right? So anytime you hear a church is triggered by words, right? They teach you how to be triggered by words. They don't tell you we're going to trigger you. We setting up triggers for you. No, they just teach you indirectly and automatically triggers you because you've been trained. They use these words in a negative light all the time to portray to you that when you hear these type of words or this type of material is negative, stay away from it. So that's why the church is triggered when you hear the word occultic, right? Occultic or occult simply means hidden. This is not devil's information. This is information that has been hidden from you, because if you knew it, they would be no longer able to ransack your pockets and take you for every dime you got when you come into their penis worshiping houses every Sunday. That's it. We got to end this right here today. I'm completely over my time on a Friday, but we ain't gonna be here tomorrow because it's a Sabbath. So, but we need to stop. All right, y'all, because I gotta get some stuff done today too. Hold on, here, fix my page. 44. We still didn't really make a whole full page. We almost a whole full page. All right, y'all. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed the reading today. We read Jeremiah chapter 4, 5, and 6, and we read Fossilized Customs, page 243 to page 244. Mommy, yes.
They're full of them.
All right, that look good, girl. It is.
I filled it up with water.
Okay, I'm about to look into that in a second. It is Friday, July the 16th, 2021, day 208 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 877, y'all. Let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember the first 21 verses? Is a Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, that's it. I didn't see any questions here. I answered the earlier questions earlier today. But remember, if you got questions throughout it, type them in there. If we get to it, we get to it. But I always make a habit of looking. And we'll expound on it, especially if we got a lot of time. Especially if it's on the weekend.
Mommy.
We'll go longer on the weekend.
Mom,
Yes.
we can go in with this sock.
Give me a second, too. All right. She done created a whole pool scene down here in my kitchen floor. All right, y'all. So with that being said, I love y'all. And I will see y'all Sunday.
I'm done again.
Make sure y'all get y'all some rest. Enjoy y'all day off. Spend time with your family. Spend time in meditation and prayer. If you're fasting, get out there and get some natural vitamin D. Enjoy the sun. All right. But be safe out there. Keep yourself hydrated. All right. With that being said,
Peace out.
Go ahead.